Hello everyone, welcome back. For this week's episode, we decided to do conchas. So for the ingredients, we're going to start off with the concha. We're going to need flour, butter, sugar, eggs, yeast, milk powder, vanilla extract, salt, milk, and some flour for dusting. Now for the topping, we're just gonna need 3 ingredients: flour, confectioner's sugar, and butter. So I'm going to start off by heating up the milk on low to medium heat. So I'm going to pour the milk back into the cup to combine the ingredients for the yeast. So it's 2 tablespoons of flour, 1.5 teaspoons of sugar, the yeast, and I'm going to mix it in until there are no more big clumps. Now I'm going to let this sit until it doubles in size. Okay, so I'm going to pour in the rest of the flour. And the salt. So now I'm going to give it a little mix, and then I'm going to create a hole in the center so I can put the rest of the ingredients. So I'm going to pour in the sugar, the milk powder, half of the butter. Now before I add in the eggs into the mixture, I'm going to whip them lightly. So I'm just going to pour in some of the eggs into the mixture. Now I'm going to add the yeast we just made, about half of it. So now I'm going to start by mixing in all the ingredients together. So I'm starting outwards and bringing it in inwards. So now I'm just creating another hole in the center so I can put in the rest of the ingredients. So the rest of the eggs, the butter, the rest of the yeast, vanilla extract, and now I'm going to combine it using the same method again. I decided to use my hand to mix in the rest of the ingredients so I know for sure everything is combined. So it did take me a while to make sure everything was combined. So I just dusted the surface and then moved the dough onto the table. So now in this part, I'm going to fold it in. So I'm going to use the Y method. I'm going to grab from one side, fold it in, grab the other side and fold it in, and just continue the process. Okay, so once the dough wasn't sticking to my fingers anymore, that's when I knew it was ready. I transferred the dough into a bowl. I covered it in plastic wrap and then let it sit until it doubles in size. So now I moved on to the topping part. So I added the confectioner's sugar into a bowl. Then I added on the butter. And I mixed both in together. So after that was mixed in, I poured in the flour and mixed that in too. So I ended up using my hands again to mix in the ingredients, just to make sure there are no clumps in, so that's why I ended up using my hands. Now I just shaped it to a ball and put it to the side. Okay, once the dough was ready and it was doubled in size, I want to go ahead and transfer it onto the table. But then I remembered I had to dust a little, so dust. And I did the same Y method again, so just grab one side and fold. So I ended up cutting it into 8 balls, but you can make between 15 to 20 balls. So I did end up weighing all of them just to make sure when they're in the oven they're cooked all evenly. So I just buttered up the sheet so the dough is ready to be transferred. And when I transferred the dough onto the sheet, I folded the dough inside itself. So when it's being cooked, it takes the shape of a circular concha. So for the topping, I used a rolling pin to flatten out the dough, but it kept getting stuck onto the rolling pin. So then I decided to cut it up in equal parts. And use parchment paper and then use a rolling pin to flatten it out. And then just cut it out. Now this method was working, but there were still some issues with it. So then I ended up using a tortilla press. Now I prefer this method better because it turned out in a perfect circle. Now I just used a knife to cut into the topping to make a concha. So I let them bake for 20 to 25 minutes on 325 degrees Fahrenheit. And then I let them cool down on the cooling rack. And your conchas are ready.